Kate here again. Tonight's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the, let's go ahead and let's get the dirt, some of the frustrations and challenges that I have experienced in parenting children with Tourette's. The reason that I want to do this video first is because for me it is difficult sometimes to accept the fact that I don't have all the answers, that I can't handle everything, and I think it's really, really important for us as parents and as caregivers to know that we're not bad parents, we're not bad caregivers, we're not bad humans, but simply that we are human and that sometimes some of this stuff is extremely frustrating. I remember oh gosh, Caden's first tics, Caden's first experiences when we did go and get him diagnosed. He was 5, just before he was 6, and it wasn't the tics that bothered, because I kind of had a suspicion that we were going that route, but it was the ADHD, and to this day it's the ADHD that drives me BSC. Don't get me wrong, there are some tics where I'm just like, oh my gosh, would you please stop that? But it's really the ADHD that just puts me over the edge. Slada has a couple of tics where things pop in her body, her hips, her shoulders, but just that sound, stop, just stop, oh my God. What's funny is, of all the tics that I have had as an adult, I barked, sounded just like a prairie dog. If you haven't heard prairie dog bark, think of like a chihuahua. High pitch. Some people thought it was adorable. Some people thought it was really annoying. I would say truly it was a cross between annoying and adorable. I had shorter hair at the time and pulled up into 2 pigtails here, and then we were at a softball tournament, and somebody had a choker collar and it had spikes, and so I was the team puppy dog. But that was me as an adult choosing to make that joke and to embrace it. It is annoying. There are lots of tics that are absolutely annoying, and if you feel that way, that's okay. It's absolutely okay, because it is annoying. When Caden would spit, oh my God, drive me insane. When I see somebody spit, then I have to spit, so it makes it 1,000 times worse for me. But also sniffing. I can always tell a difference between when Caden is sniffing for a tic and when Caden is sniffing because he needs to blow his nose, and he doesn't think that I can tell a difference, but he finally, after about 1.5 years, figured out, oh wait, she's not crazy. But just, oh, my ears. I never thought that I was particularly sensitive to sound, but it turns out I am. So when you have kids with tics, whether they've been fully diagnosed or it's a tic sequence that's going to come and go, and maybe you don't ever get a full Tourette's diagnosis, there may be things, whether it's the Tourette's or the ADHD or the OCD, that drive you insane. And I want to let you know that's okay. It's all right to be frustrated. It's all right to just very quietly say to yourself, oh my God, I'm about to lose it. But keeping in mind, again, kids can't control it. It's okay to say, can you stop that? It's okay to say, can you give me a few minutes, and ask them to step out of the room. You're not being rude. You're asking to clear your head. That's, of course, if you can't leave the room yourself, it's okay to get up and say, hey, I'll be back in just a second. But one of the things about living and rearing children with Tourette's is it's about letting them know that their behaviors and their actions, whether they have control or not, and again, remembering that with Tourette's, there's no control here, or if there is, it's very, very, very limited. But letting the children know that their behavior and their actions does impact other people. And teaching your children, I teach my children, I work really hard to remember that, no, you can't do anything about it, but you've got to recognize that maybe you are going to be driving somebody crazy. Maybe somebody is going to respond in anger. And the only thing you can do is say, I can't help it. I'm sorry that it bothers you. And then figure out how that goes. With my background in communications, I remember one time I was working on my master's degree, and I was in an interpersonal communications class, and I don't remember exactly how it had come up in the class, but we were talking about personal responsibility for the communication interaction. And my professor said, well, and you're going to have to forgive me because I'm not remembering the exact numbers right now, but it's something about the point where the sender is responsible for about 75 to 80% and of the communication, and the receiver is responsible for the other 20%. In terms of, if I am sending a message, then I have to do it with the intent and knowing what I want the other person to receive. But at the same time, the receiver has to know that I've got this intent and that we're both responsible for how we view the interaction. And so when I'm in a group, I am responsible for knowing, okay, I can't control this, but it may be bothering other people. And so I need to take that into consideration. Does that mean that I think it's okay that people with Tourette's are kicked out of movie theaters? No, that's BSC and it's not okay. But the fact of the matter is, I need to at least encourage my children to understand that how their behavior is expressed. Behavior is the wrong word because behavior implies purposefulness, but tics are a form of behavior. So we could go round and round about that, but how I act, how I behave, how I twitch does impact other people, and I need to be aware of that. It's like any other situation where there is something that you cannot control. That doesn't mean that you should be removed from the situation. It just means that my kids need to be aware that there are going to be people that do not respond well to who they are, how they act, what they sound like, and what they do. And they need to be okay with that. And they need to be okay saying, that person doesn't like me because I can't control this. Well, guess what? That's on that person, and I'm going to be okay with me. And that also means being able to communicate to me as the parent, hey mom, this is a really bad tic day, so maybe I shouldn't go and do this. Caden has done that a couple of times before and after a situation where we had taken him to a movie. It was a drama. We were all very, very excited about it, and he wasn't doing a lot of vocal tics, but gosh darn it, we went into that movie, there were some pauses for dramatic effect, and boy howdy if his tics didn't come out. And absolutely I defended him to the people that were shooting him dirty looks and told him, listen, he's got Tourette's, he can't help it, back off. But it did give us a more stable foundation on which to stand, to have that conversation about the fact that I'm responsible for part of it, the receiver is partly responsible for it. So there's a teamwork effort when we have communication, and understanding that I need to know when I do need to remove myself, or when it's okay to stay, and when people can just handle it, or when it's just simply too much and to remove ourselves is not an easy conversation to have, is not a fun conversation to have, but raising self-awareness for our kids is very, very important, and I have high hopes that as we continue to work through the process, that I'm going to become better at figuring out when to ask if there's going to be a tic that's going to get in the way, if they think that, or they can come to me and say, again, no, this is too much, this is going to be disruptive. And we haven't had a lot of it, but we have experienced some dirty looks and some comments, and so raising self-awareness so that the kids know that they are not in the wrong in any way, shape, or form, but that how people receive it does need to be taken into consideration is one of the conversations that we do have. So again, a long video. Wanted to let you know again that you are not alone if you've got any frustrations or questions or, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? Also, that being out in public with kids and as an adult with Tourette's is not always easy, but recognizing that I'm responsible for my piece, and sometimes I have to take into consideration and teach my kids how to take into consideration how other people are feeling, while at the same time knowing when it's appropriate for me to, yes, go ahead and stay, because there truly is nothing I can do about it, and it's not okay to remove me or remove my child for something that we can't control, but knowing that that goes both ways. And I know that that's rather controversial, and some of you may think that I am wrong, and that's okay, but I very much feel that self-awareness and knowing when to remove from a situation is important, but also knowing that no, just because somebody's ticking doesn't mean that you can, oh well, you can't be here, you need to be removed. That's a load of crap. It's just like you're not going to remove somebody because they're sneezing because they have allergies. You're not going to remove somebody from a social situation or from any situation because they have Tourette's. But just knowing that as the person with Tourette's, as the parent of the child with Tourette's, when we need to figure out, okay, let's reevaluate and let's do this differently is very, very important. I do welcome your comments, your questions, your concerns, your thoughts. Thanks so much for your time today.